Michiel, this guy's impressive. He's actually talking about some really cool stuff, guys. Whole systems, integrative, dynamic approaches, sustainability, technology. What's super cool to me is that you won a sliver of a Nobel Peace Prize. A sliver, along with that whole Al Gore and the International Climate Change Committee when they won their Nobel Peace Prize. So you were involved in that. Maybe you'll tell us a little bit about that in your speech. So the presentation title by Michiel, Sustainability and Cautiousness. That's right. Consciousness. Sustainability and consciousness. I'll get off the stage. Come on.
So I'm not a resource scientist. I'm a change maker and a sustainability expert. And because sustainability is about change, it's also about consciousness. And I help organizations become more sustainable in my work, but that is also my passion. And that's why I am so happy to stand here. Because I strongly believe we need to change toward more sustainable ways of doing things on our planet, or we're in deep shit. It's all about understanding reality the best as we can. I want to share with you two very useful models of making sense of reality, because the better we understand reality, the better we can handle change. I just got back from 5 years in the Netherlands, where I worked on sustainability and learned a whole lot about the people and organizational aspects of sustainability. Here we have the Netherlands. The people side, the interior side, is actually the most important part. And by the way, this is maybe the magic moment. You can dry your laundry by using something that's called wind. You don't have to have an electric machine to do that. So before I was in the Netherlands, I was working as an environmental engineer in RTP. And there I had these colleagues that were experts in air pollution and stuff, and they had PhDs and they published papers and all that. And one day I became aware that come 5 o'clock, they would climb into like the biggest truck or car they could find, and they would drive home on a big highway, of course. So I really started wondering how it could be that a person who's an expert in climate change or air pollution doesn't make that connection. So this disconnect is something I really started searching for. It set me on a journey of exploration, and also especially on self-exploration. Because if I don't deal with my own interior, my own skeletons in the closets and shadows, I can't change myself, let alone change the world. So this brings me to my first model I want to share. It basically states that all reality has both an inside and an outside, and that we can look at individuals and at groups or a collective. So we have 4 quadrants, right? Individual, collective, exterior. To describe this a little better, the upper left quadrant is what happens in my head and in my heart. It's my psyche, it's what I feel, it's my passion, or it is what you feel, it's what in your head or your passion, or what is in the heart and head of this person we're trying to convince or have a dialogue about. So the lower left quadrant is what happens between people. It's what happens in groups. It's about culture and communication. It's about values we all believe in, and so we have the Roman Catholic culture, we have the Southern culture, you name it. We can't see it, but it's very important. And then the lower right quadrant is the outside. It's economy, it's systems, it's frogs, it's trees, it's cars, it's infrastructure, you name it. So it's very objective. So that leaves us one quadrant, which is the individual outside. And what's my individual outside? It's my body, of course, and my behavior. So that's the lesson of this model. that if we want to change behavior, we have to look at all those 4 quadrants. We have to look at culture, psyche, and what's happening around us. And this brings me to the second model. The second model simply adds layers of development on top of the first model, because for each person or group, the level of development is different. Very, very, very much simplified. It is about ever-growing perspectives, or the ability to hold more perspective. So what do I mean by that? Well, there are people that can only see the world in terms of themselves. I'm sure you know a few of those people. Very young children are like that. They have to discover themselves first because they can move on. So it's not all bad. And then there are people who can only see the world in terms of their family or clan or group. And I'm sure you also know people like that. By the way, sociologically, developmentally, all 3 of these groups are on the same level in the picture. Well, and then there are people who can only see from a perspective of their nation or their denomination. Which is kind of funny because nations are a little bit artificial constructs, and borders are, take the border between Canada and the US. It's kind of artificial, isn't it? So let's just try and get along. And that's what this guy is saying. There are people who are able to hold the perspective of all of humanity. Let's just try and figure this shit out together. And then there are also people that can hold the perspective that the planet is one interconnected ecosystem and that we are dependent on it and part of it. And this and the previous perspective is what we need to handle the complexity of today. And that's the lesson of the second model. But note, a new layer does not replace the old ones, because we need healthy selves and we need healthy families and we need stable nations. So it's not an either or. So before we can make the next leap as humanity, we need to make sure we pay attention to all 4 quadrants, inside and outside, and that all our developmental levels are healthy as individuals and as groups. Only then can we move forward, and that is what sustainability really is about. Thank you very much.